I'm your tutor. So in the last session, we have discussed about the size of the cells, shape of the cells, and the level of cell organization as well as some of the functions of the cell as well. So in today's session, let us understand the introduction of cell organelles. Before getting into this, let us have a quick review of what we have studied in the previous session. So when I talk about the previous session, I will give importance for some of the concepts which we have to remember throughout your biology. Okay, so let us start from levels of cell organization. When I say cell organization, that is the organization of cells. Cells are being organized. And what is meant by cell? A cell is considered to be a basic structural and functional unit of all the living organisms. Correct? So now, how does the cell look like? Look at the image of the cell. How does the cell look like? So this cell, there are so many millions and trillions of cells are present inside the body of the organism. Correct? And these cells, they comprises to form a tissue. What do they form? Cells, they comprises to form the tissue. Correct? And there are so many tissues which are present in the various regions of our body, and these tissues, they comprises to form the organs. Okay? So they comprises to form the organs. And when I talk about the organs, there are so many organs which are present in our body which is helping for different functions. They have specific functions. Take an example of the organ which is helping for the digestion. So it is helping for the breaking down of food. Correct? So when I talk about the organs which are helpful for the respiration, they are helpful for the mechanism of breaking down of food as well as for breathing. So like this, there are so many organs which are present inside our body. And these organs, they comprise to form an organ system. And this organ system, finally we call it as an organism. Correct? Now organs comprises to form the organ system. And finally it is an organism. Correct? So this is what we have to mainly remember when I talk about the levels of organization. These are the levels of organization, that is the cells combines to form the tissues, tissues combine to form the organs, organs combine to form an organ system, and finally we call it as an organism. Clear? So now, we also have an idea that how cells look like, because in the previous session, I have given an example of slide, that is we have observed the slide. It is the view of the slide under the microscope. We have taken an onion, right? By taking the onion, we have removed a peel out of the bulb of the onion. So this peel we have placed under the glass slide, and this glass slide was kept under the microscope. This was placed under the microscope, correct? The slide was placed under the microscope. And when we have seen the structure under the microscope, this is how the structure looked like, correct? How the structures look like? It was looking like the rooms. The structure was looking like the rooms. You can observe the structure which we have seen under the microscope. This is how we have seen, correct? So these are actually, it was looking like the rooms. And it was called as the cells. These were the cells which we have seen under the microscope, correct? And now these cells have a border or the boundary like structure. You can see all the cells are having the boundary, correct? So this boundary, we call it as the cell membrane. We call the boundary as the cell membrane, and this cell membrane is also called as the plasma membrane. Clear? And that was the first prominent structure we have understood. Okay? By looking at the microscopic view of a cell, that is the peel of the onion. And the second thing which we have observed was, there was something which was present inside. If you look at this structure of the cell under the microscope, there was some fluidy-like material which was found inside. Correct? And that fluidy-like material was called as the cytoplasm. The first thing which we have found was the cell. I just write here. It is the cell membrane. And the second thing which we have found was the cytoplasm. Correct? And the last thing was some of the dark colored dots which was found inside the cell, and they were recognized to be the nucleus of the cells. They were called as the nucleus of the cells. Clear? So these were the three important and the prominent structures which we have observed when the onion peel was placed under the microscope. And we got an idea how a cell look like also. Correct? Just imagine now, if there is no cell, can we imagine an organism? If there is no cell, can we imagine an organism? No, right? If there are no cells, then there are no activities performed inside an organism, and there are no functions. Correct? And there will be no organism at all. If an organism has to be found in the nature, it has to be found because of the cells. If there are no cells, then there is no organism. Clear? So now, it is very interesting to know about the next session, that is the most important session of today. That is, we have understood by this time what is a cell, what is the levels of cells, and you also know that cells also exist in different shapes and sizes, like rod shape, correct, an oval shape. There are so many shapes for the cells we have seen, and each cell which are present in different region also have the different functions. This is what we have understood in the previous session. So now, let us understand about the cell organelles. It is very interesting to know about the cell organelles, because the cell organelles which are embedded or present inside the cytoplasm, each cell organelle has a specific function. Okay? Each cell organelle has the specific function. So here, a cell is able to perform all the activities only because of the cell organelles. If there are no cell organelles, there are no major activities that can be performed inside the cell. So, a cell is able to perform all its activities, all its activities only because of cell organelles. This should be present inside the cell. Correct? And all the cells have same cell organelles, irrespective of their function and the organisms they found. That means the cell organelles are present both in the plant cells as well as in the animal cells. It depends upon the size of the organism, but the cell organelles are present in both the cases. But in plants, there are some extra cell organelles which are being found, which are not being found in the animal cell. That means some organelles which are absent in the animal cells are present in the plant cell. Clear? So now let us focus into our main topic, that is, we are going to understand about different cell organelles which are present inside the cytoplasm, that is inside the cytoplasm of the cell. So here, if we look at the cell organelles, all these cell organelles which are present inside having the different or specific function. Now let us understand each cell organelles in detail. So when I talk about the cell, this is how the whole cell look like, and this whole cell, when it is just cut and if we look into it, it looks like a hemisphere now. So if we look inside the cell, we can see all these cell organelles. So now let us start understanding cell organelles one by one. Let us start from the nucleus. So this is how the hemisphere of the cell look like. It is the half surface of the cell look like. So now the first cell organelle which we are going to understand is about nucleus. Look at the nucleus. How does the nucleus of a cell look like? And this nucleus is called as the headquarters of the cell. And inside this nucleus there is presence of the nucleolus. Inside the nucleus there is presence of nucleolus. Nucleus, they control the activities of the cell. All the activities which has to be performed by the cell is being controlled by the nucleus. Correct? So then, the second and most important organelle is the ribosome. What are ribosomes? See, if you look at the cell, there are some dot-like structures which are present. And these dot-like structures are called as the ribosomes. And coming to the third one, we can also see the endoplasmic reticulum. So this endoplasmic reticulum are subdivided into two types, that is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum as well as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then what is the difference between smooth and the rough endoplasmic reticulum? Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is free from ribosomes. That means if we look at, for example, if this is the endoplasmic reticulum, so if there are no ribosomes on the surface of this, then it is smooth EPR, that is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Suppose if there is presence of ribosomes on the surface of the EPR, that is endoplasmic reticulum, we consider this as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Correct? So then let us move towards the next cell organelle, that is the Golgi apparatus. This is how the Golgi apparatus look like. So some of the cell organelles which we are not going to discuss in detail. So not all cell organelles are going to discuss in detail in this session. Few and important cell organelles which you have to learn in this year only I am going to concentrate. So next, moving towards the mitochondria. What is mitochondria? By now you all have an idea of what is mitochondria. Correct? So mitochondria is called as the powerhouse of the cell. It is called as the powerhouse of the cell. This is how the mitochondria look like. Inside the mitochondria there is presence of ATP cells, that is adenosine triphosphate, which acts as the energy currencies for the cell. So we will discuss in detail about the mitochondria in the next session. By now you understand the cell organelle mitochondria. So moving to the next, that is a vacuole. When I talk about the vacuole, vacuoles are present only in the plant cells, not in the animal cells. This is also very important cell organelle. Moving to one more important thing, this is very important. See about mitochondria, about ribosome, about the nucleus and about cell membrane. So there are some fixed questions that will be asked in every examination. Okay, so when I talk about lysosomes, lysosomes are called as the suicidal bags of the cell. So this is how the lysosome look like. So this lysosome, it is called as the suicidal bags of the cells. Okay, why it is called as suicidal bags, I'll tell you in the next session when we start discussing about in detail. So next is the centriole or centrosome. They are the cell organelles. They help in the cell division. When I say cell division, it is very important to know that all the cells exist from the pre-existing cells. Means there are certain cells in our body and new cells get generated. How do they get generated? It is because of the old cells, that is the pre-existing cells. Correct? So we will also discuss about this. So understand there is a cell organelle called centriole, and the last thing is the cell membrane. The cell membrane is also called as the plasma membrane. It is what? If you look at the cell only, we'll get an idea, right? The cell membrane is an outer covering or the boundary of the cells. Clear? So these are some of the important cell organelles which we have discussed and we have to understand in this session. Let us once quickly revise what are the cell organelles which we have focused in this session. The first one was the nucleus and then the ribosome, correct? And third thing which we have discussed was the endoplasmic reticulum. And then we have discussed about mitochondria, vacuole, lysosome, centrioles as well as the cell membrane. Correct? And these are some of the important cell organelles which are present inside or embedded in the cytoplasm. So that's all for today's session. In my next session, let us understand the important cell organelles and their functions in detail. So if you like this video and if you feel it is useful for you, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on the social medias. Thank you.